Sir.
Hello, Thomas.
My name's Thomas.
Hi.
Hi, good to see you.
Sit down.
So, congratulations on your new album.
Thank you very much.
I think it's wonderful.
Boogie waits for just another day. Drags his bones to see the Yankees play. Owns by tops and flickers grey. Oh, they slip away.
I was supposed to show up unprepared, and here's a couple of cards with some subjects that we can draw from.
I see. Well, I just got a pack of cards here with answers on.
You did? That's
No,
fantastic.
that
So
would have
everything
been
is
a good
set
idea.
for a good conversation. Maybe I should introduce myself. I'm Thomas Vinterberg, and I'm
You make Dogme. Well, you're
Yes.
part of the Dogme crowd, yeah?
That's right.
Sort of.
I'm one of the brethren.
Are you still, I mean, quite assiduously a part of that, Dogme?
Yes, well, it's a kind of church, isn't it?
I know.
Which you can leave for a while.
Well, it's an ironic church, yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, how seriously do they take themselves?
That's a very difficult question. It's, in a way, very solemn.
Yeah.
And in another way, it's a game.
Yeah, I get the impression from reading what Lars has said about it that there's a lot of satire behind the whole thing as well.
Yeah, but you know, that's just a way to cover yourself, isn't it?
I see.
It was meant quite seriously. And it was the most inspiring thing I've tried in my young life.
I think it's, whether or not as a school of film it will prove to be substantial, I don't know, but I think what it did do is pull a lot of independent film into the forefront again.
Yeah.
Per se, I mean, overall. I seem to see a lot of interest in more independent style movies since the advent of Dogme, in a way. It sort of realigned the playing field a little bit, take the emphasis off finished Hollywood movie and back onto things that are more homemade, you know?
For us, it was a kind of necessity, you know, making the film industry and the filmmaking today, I guess, is the most conservative art form.
Next to music, I think, probably.
Maybe. Maybe there's
We're very similar. We come from very similar worlds, you know. I mean, there's the big industry push for both industries.
There's a lot of things that you used to do, and it's a trapping and a claustrophobic feeling.
Yeah.
And in order to break free of it, we kind of had to stand together and make rules for it.
And go back to a very
naked beginning.
Yeah, I call that Tin Machine.
I know, I remember that, and I saw that. I enjoyed that a lot.
Actually, not dissimilar idea. It came from the same motivation, was to, you know, strip that back down again and find a new set of rules.
And I guess it was a kind of rebirth, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think Dogma does much the same thing. I think it's quite interesting what's happening. What do you think of things like Mike Figgis and Timecode and all that?
I like very much that he's confronting the form of filmmaking very aggressively, and he's trying to break all the borders.
Yeah.
And his work stands from that. I really like that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how challenged and inspired he also is from having something to play his ball against, if you understand what I mean. To be challenged from obstacles is a main inspiration, I guess.
So do you think that this new revolution, where does it put people like Tarkovsky and Kieslowski and anybody else that ends up with E at the end of their name? You think?
I don't know.
Do you really think that?
No, I don't know. I think people like them did the same thing. I'm sure they had a bunch of rules. I'm actually working with the composer from Kieslowski's film right now.
Are you really?
Yes. And
Well, from Decalogue or from...
also from Decalogue, yes,
Wow,
he did almost all of his
fantastic.
films. Zbigniew Preissner is his name. Wonderful name. And he's stuffed with rules
Yeah.
and dogma
And the...
in his own way. And I think a lot of artists are framing what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's making a set of rules somehow.
Yes, they are, yeah.
Our rules was invented in half an hour. It was not important what was in them. It was
Yeah.
just to strip away things.
A structure was important.
Yeah.
Well, you're saying strip it away on one hand, but on the other hand, you're actually talking about recreating a structure
Yeah.
of sorts.
Well, I can tell you...
Will that structure pick... I mean, why do we have structures as artists, I wonder? Because, you know, is it replacement for things that we feel are lacking in an acceptance of chaos that we're living in? That we create a synthetic structure to give us the impression that there's some kind of sense in everything?
I guess so. And I guess too many options are...
that I agree with.
Are killing everything.
I
Is
agree with
killing
that
everything.
entirely. I mean, Visconti and I, when we were making Heathen,
Yeah.
very much found that what made life more bearable for what we were trying to do was to take away options.
Exactly.
And not go digital on some things. And
the smaller the subject you have, the
That's
smaller
right.
the
yeah,
area you can work in, the larger it becomes somehow.
it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. I've seen so many people make so many huge mistakes, including myself, when given an enormous budget, for instance, and everything at your command. You know, sort of.
We just at this we just felt the budget, limiting the budget, had, you know, the low budget wave was had also become a convention.
Yes, absolutely.
So
well, if it's a low budget, but anything goes within that low budget. You can have low budget with rules, yeah?
Exactly.
And that's where dogma comes in.
Exactly. And it was very easy. It was just like saying, what do we normally do?
Yeah.
Set up lights and then forbid it.
Yeah, sure.
It was very easy.
The films that have come through that I've noticed, I guess, most obviously over the last couple of years that made sense as a new pattern were things like Memento, Pi, probably,
Yeah.
and, of course, Run, Lola, Run. But that was kind of dubious, I think.
Strangely enough, none of them dogma films.
No,
but-
absolutely not. That's what I was going to say. So,
No problem.
you know, do you think dogma's been taken seriously overall? Then we'll leave
I
dogma
think
alone.
so. I think the irony has provoked a lot of people in a wrong way, because the irony is just me and Lars being insecure and playful.
Yeah.
But I think it has created a huge impact on the film society, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of...
I like the site as well.
What?
I like the site. The internet site is very good, Dogma.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
excellent.
I'll let them know.
No, it's
be
very good.
happy. Well, anybody... I mean, anyway, Dogma is 5 years old now, and
Yeah.
it's becoming, in Denmark at least, its own convention now.
Yeah.
So it's slowly dying.
Established or establishment?
I would say even establishment. It's
Wow.
You can get Dogma furniture now. In this
Wow.
country. So this is a time. I guess it's a time to create another kind of renewal.
What do you mean by Dogma furniture? You mean furniture which is adheres to a set of rules, or?
I mean that Dogma has become an icon of something which is naked and not decorated.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
is being used.
Oh, I
to
see. It's just the word itself has passed into the vocabulary here.
Exactly.
And it's used to describe things that are so-called inherently have integrity. And,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's part of bourgeoisie now.
It is a bit, isn't it?
It's no longer rebel.
Then you get something the equivalent to the Memphis Group or whatever in Italy from the 80s, who came up with artificiality as being absolutely the way to go. That was like a cry against the residue of Bauhaus and the minimalist movement and all that. And so people like Ettore Sottsass and all those Italians came up with this thing of putting Fablon with marble, you know, and creating, using the aesthetic of the American coffee bar as how a living room should be and all that.
Yeah. But do you have? I guess I can tell from your
Formica,
record-
that was their big thing. Make Formica the new now.
The new now.
The new now, yeah.
I'll have to look after that.
Formica.
I guess we should go to the cards as well. We're being told to. I just have a question actually
Well,
before the cards.
I thought we were doing quite well, actually.
Without the cards, well, I guess.
Okay.
Anyway,
Whatever.
I guess watching or listening to your records and whatever you've done throughout, I see also a need to change constantly and to avoid repetition, which so that your art becomes fresh and curious, and so
Yeah.
that you're on kind of new ground, unexplored territory every time.
Well, possibly. I'm not sure. Looking back, you know, from where I am, it does seem to me it seems to me that maybe the change is more superficial than I would have suggested earlier, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It does seem to me that what I probably do is just find a newer way of approaching the same questions, because I don't actually think the subject matter that I write about or sing about or whatever on my albums has ever really changed. It seems to me, looking back, that there's a very common thematic device that runs through everything I've done. And it starts with isolation, and it goes out from there, and it gets quite dreary. But it does seem to be about the same 4 or 5 different elements of one's life, you know. And what I think the changes are more about how I creep up on those questions from a different place each time, you know, how I can try and repose the questions. Because I just know now, obviously, it is what I'm going to be writing about to the end of my writing days. I don't see any changes in my subject matter. It will always be fairly dark, and a lot of it will be about spiritual abandonment and loneliness and, you know, these things.
But the form around it changes.
The form around it changes, exactly, yeah. So the change is only partial. The change is a way of getting into the question yet again from a different place. But I do see that with a lot of my favorite authors or painters or musicians, they tend to do the same thing, and it becomes clearer as they get older, or as you see more of a body of their work, you start to understand, and I bet that they themselves also start to understand what it is that they write about or do or paint or whatever. Because I don't really think when you're younger you have had enough experience of life itself, just purely in years of the repetition of working every day and coming to the end of a piece of work, and it adds up to a body of work. I think when you're younger, you don't fully understand the implications of what you're working on. And I think,
I can agree on that.
Unfortunately, the end, or towards the end, you do see what you've done and what you've been writing about, and then's the time you can go, oh my God, what a mess. Or you can say, yeah, that was worth doing, you know. I'm not at that point yet, so don't ask me.
No, I won't. I'll actually, in fact, follow orders and grab a card. So here's a subject. This is not a question. I'll show it to you. Let's try another one.
Well, okay.
Is that okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
What about this one?
Okay, let's put the two together.
Think if
the Fool.
Think if the Fool.
Think of the Fool. Is it, can one write assuredly from the point of view of an idiot? Is it true that the fool knows more than the complicated and sophisticated man? Is it, you know, does the fool keep pointing out the absurdities of life unwittingly, you know? I don't know. You see,
I guess there are people who says that there's a direct axis between the fool and the truth.
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting one because I think an example for me would be obviously what's termed outsider art or outsider music in my case. And people like, I don't know if you're aware of them, people like Daniel Johnson. Do you know? He's an American.
No, I'm sorry, no.
He's an American artist who is somewhat similar to Brian Wilson in as much as there's very childlike quality to him. But he does produce the most extraordinary songs, and he's been a very big influence on quite a few artists. I know that Nirvana liked him very much, strangely enough. There's something about his work which it seems as though he stumbled upon a truth of some kind. And I think it's irresistible to believe the idea. I think it's a very pagan thing, isn't it, to want to believe that the fall has a kind of
I think it's
a straight-through line to the truth, whatever that might
It's a dangerous thesis because there's an enormous amount of stupidity around us.
Yes,
and
I
it
know.
does not encourage it does not encourage people to either read or
No,
learn.
yeah.
Which is, I guess, out of fashion these days.
That's interesting. Good. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Intelligentsia, or whatever you call that in English.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
Ah, you're a big old man now. But I do tend to agree with you, and I would not think. It makes me quite angry when I see the idea of the acquisition of knowledge, or trying to search out something, or being curious, or having that great hunger for learning about how life works and how we express ourselves and why, and the society we live in and all that. When that's put down as being something too elitist or something, you know, and I think, am I becoming, you know, one of those crotchety old men? But then I think, no, because when I was 20, 21, whatever, I was the same. And it used to make me so mad when people didn't have any interest, seemingly, in anything about how they lived or where they lived or why they lived and all that. And
my impression is that when you were 21, it was something to have knowledge. People had respect for that. Now becoming something is not knowing something.
Yes, it is, isn't it? With some. I think we should be careful of generalizing. Because I think there are, you know, there's an awful lot of youngsters that I believe are really working very hard to go against the grain, go against that. Yeah. But certainly as the common, the Bible from American media, which I do know quite a lot about because I live there, they take it as a rule of thumb that ignorance is bliss. And they throw that back at their teenage audience. Yeah, yeah. Whether or not it's entirely true that those teenagers are receptive to that, I don't really know. But definitely from the media, the message is it's cool to be dumb. Without doubt, it is what they're pushing.
Exactly.
And I think this is incredibly dangerous.
How is it to live there?
Well, I don't live in America. I live in New York.
Oh, that's right.
It's another country.
Yeah,
and I really do believe that. I don't think it's the same as living in America. There's certainly a kind of a cosmopolitism in New York that you wouldn't find in the rest of America. But even so, it is very insular. I think one of the dangers of the American way is that it's America first. In everything it does. There is virtually no interest in the ambitions or the feelings or the needs and sensitivities of any other nation. It's all about America first. Yeah. And that's kind of scary, you know, as we know in Europe. You know, I think this is one of the major things that makes us resent the Americans so much. It feels as though everything they do is about America only. Only, firstly, bum, 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 you know, and it's
and you're being reminded that every morning.
And you're being reminded of it constantly. So I think, you know, you kind of, within a little shell, you kind of rebel against it. I'm not an Americanized person.
No, no.
I am still very much European, you know, when I'm living there. And I very quietly try and tell people they're wrong about things. But you have to be so quiet over there.
Oh, that's right. Let's try another card.
Living in America. Numbness.
Interesting, isn't it? Numbness. So this is what we all fear, isn't it?
I think that goes, actually, doesn't it go hand in hand with the last thing we were talking about, in as much possibly the why people are so receptive to the idea of what's called dumbing down is the the burden of so much information that's available. Again, it's this thing of options, you know, and unless you've been...
So simplicity is required for...
yeah, somebody helping guide you how you make your options, how you decide on what things to leave out of your life and what things you bring into your life. That in itself is quite a hard thing to... How do you teach somebody how to assess what is relevant or not relevant to their lives, you know? It's a very difficult thing, and I think that because of the generation before mine, it was the let everything hang out generation, you know, which was kind of scary, because what that's done is it's too inclusive of everything, and I think that a present generation finds it hard to accept all that information, which is readily available 24 hours a day, and seems to be an overload. And I think when that happens, you start to not want to know about the past or relate to anything in the past or put it into any kind of order, because there's just too much of it. You know, it's just overwhelming. When you've got 3 or 4 letters coming through the letterbox, you can put them into piles and know and then suddenly these letters increase and there's like sackfuls coming through on you. And you're drowning in a mountain of letters.
Too many options.
You just stop trying to put them into any kind of formation, you know, and I think people feel like that a lot. They're drowned in information.
So life is a little bit like art. You don't want too many options.
I think so, yeah. But I'm not sure about running away to the wilderness to find truth either. You know, going to the other end. I think the best place to observe ourselves is probably to go to the zoo.
Isn't it?
I think that's where you really find truth, no?
I would feel home there. I've been curious since you were hanging over my bed as a teenager.
It must have
not
been
you, but a picture of you.
It's not the same. One of my drunk weekends.
Sorry, there's a camera problem.
Okay.
Is there? Maybe that was a perfect timing. Since the days where you were hanging over, not you, but the picture of you were hanging over my bed, I've been thinking, how do you make a song? How can you produce that many and this good songs? I'm about a year about writing a script, and it seems to be floating out of you. Not only songs, but all kind of impressions. And how do you work?
I don't know. I've never had a problem specifically with the actual musical side. Melody and song form, structure of the musical structure of the thing has never been something that has been it does literally seem to flow out of me. I just don't, I never stop that.
So you sit down and write?
I can be with a piano or a guitar or some instrument for maybe half an hour, and I will find that I'm writing something new, whether I want to or not. I mean, it just seems to be there. It seems to be like a tap in that way. And obviously it's just something that's really deeply within me. But strangely enough, the irony is that it took me a very, very long time when I was young to actually learn how to write songs, how to be a songwriter. I didn't find that anything... I wanted so desperately to make music, to do some kind of theatre form with it, and to sing and all those things. I had a natural voice, I could sing a bit, but I didn't think any of the other things came naturally to me. And I really feel that I worked incredibly hard for maybe 10 years before I knew how to write songs properly. And I did some ghastly mistakes in the beginning, which... for my vanities, are still there, available, because I had the stupidity to record them. But I really didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't find it easy. I never found it easy when I began. And I just wondered how other people did it. And
But you find it easy?
Frustrate me that other people seem to have this thing where they could just, like, it would just come out of them, you know? And it took... I go through agonies trying to produce a song in that time. Now, of course, it's the reverse, but I couldn't explain to myself back then how it is I'm doing what I do. Lyric-wise, it's a different thing altogether, I think. If I wasn't so If I wasn't such a prisoner of my own anxieties about things, I don't think I would write as much. I would probably stay just with instrumentals and things like that. I think my words are trying... I think the reason that I try even bother with lyrics is that it somehow becomes another way to access those things that bother me, you know?
Okay.
I think so.
I'm being told that we're supposed to stop. Can I just ask one last thing? I just need to leave the room with the picture of where, when you sit down and write, can you explain to me where is that? Is there a specific window, or is it, what's the actual ritual?
It's never been a location of habit. It's always been different. In fact, I do look forward and actually make an effort to find a new geography for where I'm writing. And even if it just means going to a different window in the same house, I guess, again, it's just to kind of keep refocusing, you know, because I know I'm going to approach the same subject somehow or other, so I just have to circle, so I do have to keep changing the parameters of how I make a song, just so that my window changes somewhat and is slightly altered, you know. And the ideal, of course, is to change the town. I mean, that is, for me, the ultimate. If I can, like this last album, as you may have read, it was done on the top of a mountain, which, for me, was just the worst possible situation I could have imagined. But it was wonderful. But the actuality of it was really majestic and sad and pulled all kinds of strings in me.
Okay.
It really
well,
did.
you can tell that from a wonderful record.
Thank you so much.
So we made through 3 questions. So we need, I'm sorry, we need another 10 hours, if that's okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thomas.
I'm looking forward to hear your concert tomorrow.
Lovely, great. And I'm looking forward to
I'll
doing
be
it.
there, waving at you.
Oogie waits for just another day, drags his bones to see the Yankees play. Owns by tops and flickers grey, oh, they slip away.